Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my VCT America's Power Rankings. Going to go through all 11 teams, rank them into these 5 tiers, and kind of just give some reasoning, some recaps of either their roster moves in the transfer window or just their stage 1 in general. So if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Also, go check out my Twitter where I update my player rankings weekly. You can go check out my full video about my player rankings on my channel. I just uploaded it the other day, I think yesterday, maybe the day before. I don't remember. I don't know when I'm uploading this, and I don't remember when I uploaded it. So I don't know. But go check out my Twitter. Go check out that video. Go check out all my other power rankings for Pacific and EMEA. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we'll start at the bottom here with our bad teams, and we got 2 of them. We got Furia and MIBR. I think both these teams are not in a very good spot. Furia was awful last split, and I think they will be a little bit better with their roster changes, bringing in John D here in place of Conan, who was kind of just a placeholder to get a better player, pretty much, is what I felt like. I think they're going to be moving Havoc over to Sentinel, which when he was playing that Killjoy, I think was when he looked his best, at least for Furia. But he has not been great this year so far, even though I do still think there is potential in there. I just don't think he's really gotten too much of an opportunity to show it. And I do think they have some other good players, like Noswork can frag when he's not calling, but he's going to have to call here, so I don't know. And Khalil, I think, is pretty good. MW has games, but overall, just I don't think he's very good at all. I don't know why teams are still trying him on Duelist, especially after last year where he was pretty good on that like initiator role that he was playing for this team. But regardless, I don't know. And then MIBR, who had a very active transfer window here, bringing in 3 new players, being Paula, Richzine, and the Yasi. Almost forgot. Sorry, I literally pulled up their VLR and then I zoned out. They also got rid of Bazooka, which was kind of weird because he was the coach that won champs with Loud. But they're going to keep Fraud here, and I still think he's a very good coach. So there is definitely potential with this roster. I think Paula was a very good duelist in tier 2. Richzine was a very solid initiator player for, I think it was 0-0 Nation. That could be a complete lie, but when I watched him last year in tier 2, he was pretty solid. Artzine, I think, is either going to be playing Flex or Sentinel here. I hope he's playing Sentinel because unless Mazin's playing Sentinel, then I could see this. So either or there, I think it would be pretty good. And then Liazi, who I think was solid for Furia during kickoff, but just, I don't know, got replaced for whatever reason by probably the more important player being Nazor being an IGL. Obviously that didn't pan out necessarily, but whatever. So now in the stage 1 Warriors tier, we have 3 teams that I think did pretty well during stage 1. Overall, had a good record, made it pretty deep. But overall, I think we'll just kind of fall off for stage 2 here. And that's going to start with C9. I did feel really bad putting them in 9th in Americas because I still do feel like they're going to be a pretty solid team. But I think a lot of what they had was due to form. Like Zeppa's had some good games in there, which overall, like other than that, this year he's been pretty bad. Moose started to get figured out towards the end of it. Rooney, I still don't think is as good of a player as he's hyped up to be. He's a good fit for this team, and I think he was the right player to bring in here. But I still don't think he's that great. Oxy, I think is a little overhyped, but honestly is still very good. And then I still believe in Vanity as an IGL, which is why I have them in this tier, not in like a bad tier or anything. I don't see this team doing anything. Like, who do they play here? They play G2, I think that's a loss. They play Sen, I think that's a loss. They play Energy, I think that's a loss. And then I think versus Crew, it's like a 50-50. That'll spoil one of the teams later in this tier, but you get the point. I don't see them doing too much. I don't see them making champs. I don't see them as a team that really could make champs or anything. Obviously, they have the upside to do that with Oxy, with Zeppa, with Vanity, with Moose. I think Rooney's pretty stable most of the time. But this team just had some awful games last split. And, like, the teams that they're playing, like G2, they lost to. They got smoked by 100 Thieves. They barely beat Loud when they were bad. They barely beat EG when they were bad. They barely beat Lev when they were bad. Like they're smoking like these teams that are they're not even smoking them. They're just like kind of scraping by teams that were just not good. Like whenever they played them. So I think maybe that'll get exposed a little bit. Like they didn't do that well during kickoff. I think that this C9 will look a little bit more like the kickoff C9, but I don't know. It's just a weird spot with this team, honestly. And then you have Crew, as I mentioned. Um, Again, just a team that really flopped during playoffs. Like they play the same three other teams that C9 does, and I don't think they're going to get a win out of any of those games, especially the G2 game. Um, but like they were so good during the regular season. I thought they were sick. But once they had expectations against Lev, G2, and Leviatán again, they just choked and were not the same team. And I think a lot of the form that they had during the regular season of stage one is going to kind of fall off into stage two. Kesnet's not going to be as good. Heat's not going to be as good. I don't think Melzer was very good for them during the whole split, honestly. Like he was just, flipped off of that IGL role and still wasn't fragging to the um, standard that you'd expect. I think Klaus will be fine. I think the calling will be pretty decent for Crew, but I think, and Shy is always consistent. I didn't even feel the need to mention him. But point stands, I still think this team is going to be good. Maybe like they were during kickoff, where they're good, but they're not getting wins. And yeah, it's just going to be sad to watch this team because I don't think they're going to be very good. I think they're going to kind of fall off into stage two. Then a team that's going to fall off even more, in my opinion, we have Lev, even though I have them only down 5 spots. This is from the end of the regular season, by the way. So I had Crew 1 and Lev 2, I think, and they're both dropping down to 8 and 7, respectively. So that's not great, obviously. But you have Lev, who really flopped during Shanghai. They had that really good game versus T1 that still had some weird shit in there. Um, but when they played, like, okay, Genji, that game was good from them. I thought they were fairly solid during this game. It wasn't anything, like, egregious. But Sunset versus Foot, you actually could have told me that they were throwing for money during that game, and I would have believed you. It was genuinely that bad. Some of the peaks that they were taking, just some of the decisions they were making, like when King just ulted across the map and left Ospas on his own, that was interesting. Um, they were able to beat Foot's shitty Lotus comp with the Breach, and I don't know, and then they played close on Bind, I guess, which is not one of Foot's better maps. But yeah, they're so reliant on Ospas, and I don't see it with this team. Like, Com's not fragging to a super high level. King's technically still IGLing. I don't believe it. I really think Com is the main IGL for this team, specifically with the fragging performances. Like, he was fine during the regular season, but I think when it gets against these really good teams, I think Com is the guy that has to really take over for this team, and he might end up getting cut for it. And I think the team is going to look worse if they cut him. But I still think they're going to look worse anyway. Like, I think Tex might take a drop off. King might take a drop off or stay where he is, honestly. He kind of took a drop off anyway. Um, and then Mazzino is just super inconsistent, where, like, any given week he'll pop off, any given week he'll play, like, absolute shit. Um, so yeah, I really hate where this team is right now as a team, and I don't really know how to fix it other than just to blow it all up. So I think this tier name was pretty obvious, but I have EG at 6th, I think. This is 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think they had a really nice end to the split during stage one, but just didn't have a good enough start to justify, like, or not justify, but like get them into playoffs. So I think if they can continue that momentum that they had against Sen, against Energy, when they actually looked really good as a team, I think they can maybe sneak into playoffs at the end of the year and maybe make a run. I don't think they're necessarily going to make champs or anything, or maybe not, maybe make champs. I think making champs is actually kind of realistic for this team, but I don't think they're going to win champs or anything. I don't think they should have expectations of doing that. Um, and yeah, I think the team is fairly good. Like I like a lot of the pieces here. I like Jaw on the duelist, who I didn't like actually starting the split. He was not playing to the level that I thought he would be, but he really stepped it up at the end of the split, like against Sen, against Energy specifically. He was really, really good in those games. Derek had, I think, one really bad game against Crew, but otherwise was pretty good. Apoth was really, really good for this team. I don't think that can be denied. Like early in the season, he was making so many mistakes, but like once you got into like the C9 game and then the Sen game and then the NRG game, you could kind of see the style of Cypher working a little bit more. Maybe it'll get counter stratted. Maybe he'll have to play a little bit more passive. But honestly, I really believe in him, especially with Potter at the helm with coaching, which is one of the big reasons they're even at this spot. And then Nature, who I think is actually a pretty good caller and has been a really, really good individual for this team. Superman is still a little inconsistent, and you want to see him find that consistency, which he won't, because he never has. He hasn't for like 3 years now, but he's still very good, and I still think this team can do some stuff in stage two. Then onto this We Are So Back tier, where I think, again, two pretty obvious teams based on the name. You got Sen and you got Loud. We'll talk about Sen first, who I think should be better than they were in stage one. Do I think that they will be as good as they were during kickoff for Madrid? That there's a reason I have them fifth. Um, I don't think they're going to go all the way back. I think Zekken will still look good. I think Tens is going to be a lot better than he was in stage one because I don't think he was very good. I think Zelsa should be better, who he was not shooting at all. And I think John's calling should be better. I think this team should have time to reinvent themselves a little bit more. Um, and yeah, Saucy, I mean, I don't think he was really the best fragger in the first place for this team, but I still think he'll kind of get back to maybe more of what he was before. I think Saucy is the main reason I have faith in this team, just because he's always good. He's always going to be good no matter what team he's on. And if he's good, then this team will be good because they have enough pieces here to actually be a great team. This team should be making champs. I like they play NRG, which is like a 50-50. They play Crew, which I think they should win. They play C9, which I think they should win, and then G2, which I think is also a kind of 50-50 depending on how good they end up being. Um they being Sentinels. And that's fucking 3-4 weeks from now, so like maybe G2 fall off a little bit, maybe center better. Like I could see it, maybe Zekken getting a little bit of that duelist diff in there. Like I could see this team making champs like off the back of playoffs, not even off the back of points, but I still think they should make it off points because they have 9 right now, and they should get at least like let's see 2 more up to 11. Like I still think they should be in a good spot to be one of the better teams um, out of the rest of the pack in terms of points. So they should be fine. And I still think as long as they don't show too much or get too burnt out by stage two, I think they should have a fairly good shot at champions to do something. Then you have Loud, who the reason I have them over Sen is because they're making a roster change, honestly, and bringing in Pancada, who is a world class smokes player still. I think I still had him like top 3 in my smokes players, which is really high for a guy who hasn't played in so long. But I believe in Sadak. I believe in 2 years on the duelist. 2 years. I don't know how to exactly say it. I think it's 2 years, but Bren says 2 years all the time, so I don't know. I still think Cowanzine's really good, and I think Les is one of the best players in the world. I have been on record saying that I think he was a bigger reason for Loud's success last year than Osbos was. Uh, Maybe that was disproved this year, but I think QCK was just bad, and that's really not Les's fault. So they just need a good, solid duelist player, which I think Tui's can be. Um, and he's been hyped up pretty well in terms of like how he's been playing in the past on duelist, like Jet and Razor's 2 most played agents on VLR. So I really do think Tuyas has a chance on this duelist and can be very good. Obviously, I had him ranked 9th in my player rankings just because I have not seen it yet. Um, but yeah, I mean, I believe in him. He was extremely good on the smokes or Loud all the time. I don't know why I said last year, which he was, but also this year. And yeah, I don't see any reason why he can't be good on Duelist. So yeah. And last up here, we have our international contenders, which will consist of NRG. We'll talk about first. And I was really high on NRG entering the year, mainly because they had Crashies, Victor, and Marved to support Ethan on the IGL role, but Ethan's just not built for it. It was pretty clear from the start of Split 1, maybe, because I think Kickoff, you could kind of see, okay, there's some potential here. Maybe he can be really good at it. Maybe he'll just be pretty solid, but he was not either of those things, and he was awful at it. I think there was a big misuse of Demon 1 on that role, and removing him was an interesting move to me. I think moving Victor onto this duelist role will be very good. He can play both at a very high level, both Jet and Raze, and Neon even, which could be entering the meta now. Som is an extremely good smokes player. I think he's even the best in Americas right now. Um, even with the break, I still think he'll be very good. Crashies is really good. Ethan's really good. Both insanely talented support players. And then FNS, who I think is one of the best IGLs in the world, if not the best. I don't have him currently ranked as the best, just because he took a year or like a half year long break. So curious to see what it looks like when he gets back, but I still think this team should be really good. 50-50 games against Sentinels and G2, and should beat Crew and C9. I don't see a reason why they shouldn't. That Sentinels game should be really fun with FNS versus Celsius, but regardless. Yeah, I don't think this team is gonna win champs or anything. I think they should make it, honestly. But I don't think they're gonna win a tournament or anything, but they should be able to be like a contender against top teams at that tournament, if that makes sense. Then you have G2, who made top 3 in Shanghai. And I think they just did it by being a really, really disciplined and solid team. I don't think they did anything unbelievable outside of maybe Jonah, his performance, and I think Valen's performance while IGLing. I guess Leaf did some nice stuff too. And Icy and Trent were pretty solid. I think Trent was a little bit disappointing at this tournament. At Shanghai, that is. But once you got up against these top teams with insane firepower like Gen G and then Heretics for the second time, I think you really saw maybe Icy's not cut out for a tournament winning duelist player, but he is very good. I think should be very good for this team and more than good enough. I don't want to call their run a fluke because I don't know. I still feel like this is underrating them, which I mean I think everybody has done the entire process through playoffs and now into Shanghai even. But I just can't justify rating them over 100 Thieves, who I think at times during the tournament looked better than them, and I think will continue to look better than them after the tournament ends. So I don't know. It's very close. I think 100 Thieves kind of disappointed and choked a little bit, while G2 kind of overperformed at the tournament or at Shanghai. So I think it'll balance out once they come back, but we'll just have to see. I don't know. I think one of these teams that made Shanghai will end up kind of falling off a little bit, but I don't know who it will be between 100 Thieves and G2. And then NRG should be. I just think the floor on NRG is so high that I have to rank them third. But Loud Sen should be good. If they're not, then that's a huge disappointment. EG could be really good. I think the 3 in the Stage 1 Warriors, I think one of them ends up being fairly okay. And then MIBR and Furia shouldn't really be doing anything, but could be good maybe, especially with MIBR, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I don't feel like we're recording that, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this tier list. Let me know if I'm crazy for certain rankings. Let me know if I'm exactly right. I think this one will be very divisive in the comments. So again, make sure to let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, everything like that helps me out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.